Hello, welcome to the New Stack Makers, where we talk about at-scale application development, deployment, and management. Thank you for joining us. It's PagerDuty Summit here in San Francisco. It's muggy, but to me, let me tell you, it's beautiful. It's always beautiful for me here at the Embarcadero. We're at Pier 27, covering the events here at PagerDuty Summit. The theme here is Ops Reimagined. Notice I didn't say DevOps Reimagined, but Ops as in short for Operations Reimagined. How are we streamlining operations processes to make it possible for development teams and operation teams to collaborate and deliver better value to the customers? This edition of the New Stack Makers is sponsored by PagerDuty, maker of the Digital Operations Management Platform. DOM combines incident management with machine learning and advanced analytics to empower operations teams to respond to their networks and their applications before things go wrong. Download the 2017 State of Digital Operations Report now and see how IT operations teams stack up against the expectations of their customers at PagerDuty, PagerDuty.com. From Pier 27 at the Embarcadero in San Francisco, I'm Scott Fulton here with the CTO of PagerDuty, Alex Solomon.
Hey, glad to be here.
Good to meet you.
Likewise.
We're here at PagerDuty Summit. We're just before the all-important opening keynotes, and I wanted to ask Alex, now that we've pulled him here aside, what's the theme of your conference here today?
Oh yeah, so the theme for the conference today is Ops Reimagined. It's about thinking about a lot of our customers and how they're facing a DevOps transformational journey or digital transformational journey where they're trying to modernize, they're trying to adopt new technologies in order to move faster and be more agile.
The Congresswoman Barbara Jordan, who was a hero of mine, used to have a saying, change from what to what. If you're reimagining ops the way you say, what is the before state and what is the after state that we're looking for?
That's a good question. I mean, a lot of customers and a lot of companies are in various states of operational maturity. Some are just starting the journey. They're more old school. They're more ops and developers are separated, segregated, different silos. And some of the newer companies that have been down this journey for a bit, they've combined ops and dev into DevOps. And the two teams work much more closely together. A lot of times they're on the same team, and essentially it's about developers owning the code that they write in production. Full stack ownership.
When you say combine dev with ops, does that mean their management has combined into one unit, or does that mean essentially they work together in the same room?
It's a little bit of both. There's multiple ways to do it, but it's a lot of making sure that they work together in the same room, that their operations people are embedded with the developers, that the developers themselves are empowered to not just write code, but test it, ship it to production, and then actually own it in production, which means going on call for that and making sure they respond when something breaks. It's the people who have written the code are the best people to actually run it in production and to actually care about the code running in production.
Historically in organizations, developers have seen themselves as being overseen by the operations team members in one form or another. Yep. And usually that oversight is sometimes what we call helicopter parenting. They kind of buzz in from a strange direction, and then they correct them on one form or another.
Sure.
And we're telling them now, okay, we really should have one team embedded with the other. And I would think in some of those organizations there would be a little shock and drawback to that, like, I don't know if we really want this. So how do we change the culture of those organizations so that those teams mesh more closely together?
Yeah, I mean it's a hard problem to solve. Like you said, it used to be the case that the operations people were the gatekeepers. They were responsible for production, and development was responsible for writing the code, and they have different incentives, which is actually a big problem. Ops, they're the gatekeepers. They want to make sure that whatever goes to production is safe and it won't break. So they're incentivized to do as few changes as possible. Developers, on the other hand, in this old school model, they still are incentivized to move fast and to provide business value. So the way you combine the two teams is you align them both to business value. You align both teams to, we need to ship this, we need to respond to competition, we need to deliver this new product so that we can address revenue needs and we can do what the business needs. So it's about connecting and drawing a much more close connection for both development and DevOps, to the business problems that they're solving, to the customer. Because developers, I know that going on call is something new for them, but as long as you connect them to the business problem they're solving, they want to help. They want to make sure that the business succeeds.
You did a talk a few months ago at a major conference where you took the audience through a properly streamlined incident response scenario, where you showed them point by point how things work when they work smoothly. And in that scenario, you introduced the audience to the incident commander and to the deputy incident commander. Tell us a little more about who these people are and what the incident commander's relationships may be with management and with executives in the organization.
Absolutely. So this is something that we've evolved over time at PagerDuty ourselves, but the incident commander is one of the most important roles in responding to an incident or outage. It's the person who's in charge. It's the person who's responsible for coordinating the response. In one of these larger incidents, you're going to have multiple subject matter experts, people who are experts in like storage, networking, various databases, etc., etc. And it's this person's job during this kind of wartime scenario where time is of the essence, every minute of downtime costs the business money, to respond to quickly, to have different folks split up the work that's required to debug the problem, and then to remediate the problem as quickly as possible. So ultimately, without having an incident commander, you end up with chaos. You end up with people not knowing what they're responsible to do. Nobody's really in charge. People are just waiting around. It's a very stressful situation. Now, of course, it's also stressful to be an incident commander because you're the person in charge. But with the right training, and that's what we promote in our incident response talks, with the right training, with the right backup person, that's the deputy they mentioned, and with the right folks surrounding you to help you coordinate the response, it's actually very doable. The role that I mentioned is the incident command. That's the most important role. The deputy is kind of the backup person, the IC's right-hand person in terms of communicating to stakeholders and to the business. That's actually the job of the deputy. So you get these problems a lot of times where an executive in the business understands that there's an outage, and then they try to add value or to help by jumping on the actual call or the war room that the response team is working on. And that's what we call executive swoop. It's not a good practice because what happens is that person...
That sounds like a flavor of Ben & Jerry's, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Executive swoop, now available at your local convenience store.
Exactly. But it derails the people who are trying to focus on the technical response. So the role of that deputy is so important because they're responsible for updating the executives and letting them know, here's the problem, here's the impact, here are all the customers that are impacted, and here's the latest update. The folks are working on it because executives, they don't actually know the technical innards of what's happening, but they just want to know that the right people are on it and they want to understand what's the impact.
So with apologies to those of you out there, our viewers who may be executives, what then is the executive's role? If they are just simply being kept apprised but they aren't interested in the innards of the system, what do they actually do besides sign the paychecks?
That's a good question. I mean, it depends on the executive, of course, but executives care about the customer, first and foremost.
So the executive is customer-facing?
Oh, a lot of them are. Like if you think sales or customer support or customer success, a lot of those execs, even the CEO, they interact with customers all the time.
And does that mean the DevOps team is less customer-facing and a little more abstracted?
It depends from company to company. a lot of DevOps teams aren't directly customer facing, but they coordinate with customer facing teams directly. So in the way that we advocate to do response, you actually have customer support representative on the call. You have a customer success person looped in as well, and the customer facing people are there to update the customer, to let customers know, hey, here's what's going on. We usually do this ourselves by tweeting out to let our customers know, hey, we understand that we have an outage, here's the latest on it, and we're working on it. That kind of thing.
So in an organization that has truly adopted agile practices, can these roles, incident commander, deputy incident commander, and I want to talk to you about scribe here in a little bit, can they be rotated? Can different people take different roles on different weeks?
Absolutely. I mean, first and foremost, one of the things that we advocate is if you have a longer running incident, let's say it's multiple hours, that role of IC or incident commander is a very stressful place to be. And we actually recommend that you rotate that person out and tag someone else in. And that deputy is trained to be an incident commander, so they can step in for the main IC. And the other thing to keep in mind is when you're learning this process, when you're first getting trained, you're going to shadow an incident commander, and you should actually, we would recommend starting by scribing these. You mentioned the scribe. So the role of the scribe is to document what's happening, to document debugging actions, remediation actions, and ensure that the team keeps a log of what's happening with the incident. That log is really important for people joining the incident as new subject matter experts who need to get caught up on what's going on, as well as for the postmortem afterwards, which is that very important step of learning what happened here and taking action items to ensure that these types of problems don't happen again.
Now, you talked about the postmortem. This is the step that a lot of organizations have a tendency to overlook, in my opinion, because, well, they're going on to the next incident, and then they postpone the postmortem. It becomes the postmortem. How do you make certain in an organization that a postmortem review actually happens?
I mean, that's a great question. I would say you need some support from the top. You need technology leadership to basically mandate it. We need to do this. It's a best practice. It's also very helpful if the people on the ground, who are the incident commanders, who are the subject matter experts, also advocate for the postmortem, because they care about the systems. They don't want to keep accruing technical debt and end up in a situation where all they're doing is firefighting. They care about moving the product forward, about making the infrastructure better, and about reliability. So it can come both from the top and from the bottom, and you kind of need a little bit of both. And then some people are going to be very excited about let's improve our reliability, and maybe some other people are going to have to be dragged along with it.
Now, PagerDuty is also a technology company, and certainly there are a number of other attendees here that are technology companies. So I would ask how you would like the technology to evolve over the next, say, 3 years to better support the goals that you'll be outlining here at the show today.
Great question. So one of the things that we've been thinking a lot about is how do we apply machine learning to the problems that we solve? And so what we mean by that is machine learning in terms of pattern recognition. So let's say you have a whole bunch of events that are coming into our system, alerts, things going wrong. It's about catching major incidents before they impact the customer on the leading edge. So if we've seen similar incidents before, we can catch the incident early based on the early events that are coming in, and then give the folks a heads up. Hey, we think you might have this problem that we've seen before. We're maybe 75% sure right now based on the data we have, and we want to give you an early heads up. It's kind of like early earthquake detection.
Now, a lot of organizations that have dealt with artificial intelligence companies in the past, even in the present, that are dealing more and more with machine learning, they're being advised to bring in new people into their organizations who can be more dedicated to the machine learning process. Sometimes these roles are called data scientists. Is there a place for the data scientist in the Ops Reimagined framework that you envision?
Oh, absolutely. Like we have a team of data scientists working on these problems today. And I know that a lot of the bigger tech companies, the Googles, the Amazons of the world, also have the same. Because they're pretty much on the bleeding edge, and they're trying to solve these problems and improve their reliability. So they're hiring teams in-house to solve these operational problems. But what I would say is for everyone else who's not a Google or Netflix or Amazon, you can rely on products like PagerDuty, where we are hiring these trained teams and we are developing this talent in-house, and we're creating a product that has it incorporated.
What all can attendees expect to see here today for the rest of the day here at the Embarcadero?
Oh, there's going to be some amazing talks about the next generation of operational tooling, about machine learning and how we can apply it to operations. And also, we're going to hear from a lot of thought leaders in our space. People from, like, for example, the CTO chef, Adam Jacob, or Matt Klein, who's the creator of Envoy.
We're going to be speaking to Matt later today.
Great.
It'll be delightful, and I'm so glad you invited us here. Well, I say welcome to you, but you certainly welcomed us, and I'm really glad to be part of what you're doing here at PagerDuty Summit. Alex Solomon, CTO. Good to meet you, sir. Stay tuned to the New Stack Live all through the day here at PagerDuty Summit at Pier 27 at the Embarcadero in San Francisco. I'm Scott Fuller. You've been listening to the New Stack Makers, sponsored today by PagerDuty. Learn how the PagerDuty Foundation supports community programs such as technology career coaching and talent recruitment at PagerDuty.org. Listen to more episodes of the New Stack Makers at thenewstack.io/podcasts. And take a moment, please, rate and review us on iTunes and like us and follow us on YouTube. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next time.